Now that we've done our basic setup, the next thing we're going to add is buttons, ways to interact with the sheet. To do that, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set a little section for them. I tend to just write buttons, and then I'm going to name each of the buttons that I want to include. So for this, we're going to do like a top-down, sort of like a roguelike game. So we're going to have directional buttons. I'm going to say up, and then I'm going to say down, left, right, and then I want just some like action buttons. I don't really have a name for them yet, so I'm just going to call them A and B. And finally, I like to add a button that will just reset everything for us, so we're going to say reset. Okay, now each of these is going to correspond to a checkbox. Google Sheets doesn't have buttons, but it does have checkboxes, which will fill the gap just nicely. So we're going to go ahead and go down here, a different row, and we'll say just right underneath each of those labels, a few rows down, we're going to add checkboxes. We're going to say insert checkbox. Now we have checkboxes in each of those. And starting with up, what I'm going to do is we're going to say this is equal to that checkbox. And then 2 cells over, we're going to say if that cell that equals the checkbox does not equal this cell that we're editing right now, set it to equal that cell that equals the checkbox. Otherwise, stay as is. So basically what we're saying is like track the previous state of the button and update to match. And the reason we do that is that gives us a brief window in between these cells where if they don't match, we'll know that that was the last button to be clicked. So this cell right in between the two, we're going to say equals if this does not equal that. So now, let me just update this to match. Sometimes, you know what, style matters. That's okay. All right, so now this is actually the cell we're going to look at. So every time I click this button, it applied to my style for some reason, there we go. Notice it stays true, but if I click a different button, it goes to false, which means it's no longer the last button to be clicked. We need to pay attention to this other button now as well. So now that we've made that, we're going to go ahead and select it, copy, and we're just going to paste it into each of these. And now those will all update to match their respective cells. So now as I click down, that changes to true. If I click left, that's now true. Great. And now we can move these around into a shape that we actually want. So for example, let's see, and you want to use Command X or Control X to cut. If you copy here, that'll mess some stuff up, but if you cut, that changes the references to match. Let's move that here. Let's grab our down button, cut, put it here, our left button, move it over here, right, put it there, A and B, we'll put those a little closer, sure, why not? Don't really know what these are going to be for yet, but it's always nice to have. And then reset, you know what, let's just put that way over here. Don't want to hit that on accident. Great, and now we see up, changes that to true, down, changes that to true, left, changes that to true, right, A, B, reset. Awesome. Now these don't do anything quite yet. The next thing we want to do is adjust how they look. You'll notice the checkboxes they don't read as buttons really. So we're going to go ahead and select all of these. And we're going to set the font size to pretty big. Basically what you want is for the checkboxes to overlap the edges of the cells. Setting to 36 tends to work. If you have larger cells, you can manually adjust this up to, I mean, I've set them to like 200 before just to be safe. But you want it to take up the entire cell. Now we're going to adjust the color. Let's set fill color to any color you like. I'm going to pick this blue right here. And then the text color, we'll go ahead and pick the same blue. But we're not going to leave it there. Now we're going to hit custom. And what that'll do is it'll give us the hex code for that blue. We want to make it just slightly different. So I tend to adjust every other character by 1. So that gives us a color that is only perceptible to the computer as being different. And the reason it does that is if you have the same color text and fill, it will stop you before trying to click on one of these buttons. So not the best. But if we change it to slightly different, you can click it as needed. Awesome. So now we have these button-looking things that correspond to these values. And let's go ahead and we'll change the color one more time. We'll set this to red. I'll show you that one more time. So you want to select the color first and then go to custom so that it fills in the hex code for you. Or you could do all the hex code custom, that's up to you. Great, so now we have a red reset button that goes to there. To make things easier for us later on, I'm also going to name all of these values. So if you select one, go to data, named ranges. Let's see, we're selecting C4, so that's up, done, down. Oops, I can type down, left, right, A, B, reset. And what that does is we're now able to write just these names into our formulas later on. So if we want to reference like, has somebody clicked the right button, we don't have to say if cell L4 is true. We could just say like if right. So it makes things a lot easier. I do a little bit of cleanup here just to keep things separate. Whoops. Just, you know, to make it stand out, make it nice. Put a little border around those. Why not? Oh, I can do that faster. Great. Okay, so now you have your separate buttons all ready to go for the rest of your game.